talk some crude here first. As we've been discussing here, I know for a while you were bearish there right before the big collapse, but it seems like now oil's trying to follow stock's lead and maybe stabilize. Are you a believer yet?
I mean, we had talked about this just the last week after that big bearish call that, I was pretty neutral here. And there's really not a lot of direction, Oliver. And I think today is a perfect example of that, because all of the news that came out today actually was quite bullish, especially after Saudi announced another million barrels a day cutback. We got that little rally and then we sold off. So a lot of excess volatility here. And I really think that oil is trying to find its footing. One thing that I would really keep an eye on is the big contango market. And we talked about this when we saw, oil just completely fall out of bed last month, is what is the future, right? What is the future price versus the spot price going to be? And right now, that discount between June and July is only about $1 right now. So I probably would see that widening out a little bit, which would mean some near-term pressure on the current spot June contract.
So if we've got some near-term pressure, Scott, is there a way to trade this, or is this a sort of a place where you're not getting a lot of reward and maybe taking on too much risk to even trade at all?
Yeah, to me, it's in the middle of no man's land, quite frankly. Fundamentally, all signs are pointing down over the next 4, 6, 8 weeks. But, I look technically here, and I think we're really in the middle of no man's land. So I want to see what that next move is. I want to see, are we getting a bearish breakdown, or are we going to, is this going to follow the equity market? So I'm on the sidelines right now, but definitely bearish.
All right. Sidelines, but feeling bearish. So Brent's down today, heating oil's down. It seems like we've got pressure across the energy spectrum. Scott, do you touch any of the stocks as like a potential bounce back reopening play? Where are you sitting right now on the great debate?
Well, my head is different from my heart. So my heart tells me that the reopening is going to be great and everyone's going to get back out there driving, and a lot of these oil stocks are going to start rallying again. My head tells me a little bit differently here, that, maybe we've gotten a little too far ahead of ourselves, and this, the opening is going to be delayed. It's not, I don't think we're going to see it as robust as some are making it out to be over the next 2, 4, 6 weeks.
All right, so crude not reflecting a whole lot of potential for reopening and demand, but also at least not, falling apart. Kind of seems like it's telling a story that is kind of between your head and your heart there, Scott. Maybe crude is a way to go for reality.
You know what? It really could be. Again, if I was forced to make a trade, it would absolutely be bearish, Oliver. I don't think this reopening is happening as quickly as many would like it. So when it gets to, actually people going out to the gas pump, I don't see it happening. Let's see what happens here. I really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. All right, Scott, let's shift gears here. Let's go find some volatility, all right? It's a slow day, and whenever you're in need of vol, there's one place that you can surely find it. Back in classic form, Bitcoin, after a huge run off the lows with a pretty epic drop, down 15% right now, Scott. And for the crypto nights out there, it's not great timing because this is like the religious holiday this week.
Yeah, it's the one holiday that comes every 4 years or so with the halving.
The halving. Yes.
I never pronounce it right. We saw a big run up to 10,000. We're seeing sell off here. We're also seeing it in gold a little bit. There's some risk off kind of across the board though, but specific to Bitcoin, very serious sell off, about $1,500 since that high that we saw, about 10,000. Big volume CME futures approaching 20,000 contracts today. The one decent thing, or the one thing that the bulls can maybe hang their hat on, Oliver, is that this is now the third time on a recent sell-off that Bitcoin has stopped in that 8,000 to 8,200 area, which from a technical standpoint is the 100 and 200-day moving average there. So what's going to happen over the next 24, 36 hours before this halving happens is anyone's guess, really. in the past, the last two times that we've seen this halving, we have seen Bitcoin rally. I'm not so sure we get that this time.
Right. And this is what I always have a problem with the historical stuff. And again, I get the symbolic importance of it. That this is the whole point of the asset, that, there's a limited supply. So now the miners get rewarded half per block as they would have before. Okay,
Right.
I get it. But one, they've been talking about this nonstop for like a year. So it's really hard for me to understand any logic that it hasn't already been priced in, whatever actual impact it would have. The other one is that stuff that happened any time longer than 2 years ago before, the big bubbly top
Agreed.
for 2017.
Agreed.
It's hard for any of that to matter to me, Scott.
I agree, but keep in mind, something that is different this time around is there are derivatives to trade Bitcoin off of, which there weren't the last two having. So you do have a futures market. There actually is an options market.
And that's kind of my point. It's a deeper market. It's wider known. It's the biggest market it's ever been before.
Absolutely, which probably will be one of the reasons that volatility, or we don't see as much volatility at the halving and maybe afterwards as well, because big opportunity for retail and funds to go out there and actually hedge some of their portfolios if they want to.
This is kind of one of those things where, Bitcoin, again, and I've made the case here, that I've disagreed on this a little bit, right? I think it does deserve a little bit of credit as being tied into some macro themes. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's been rallying here with the huge amount of central bank activity. I know you've been a little bit less convinced of its macro ties, Scott, but I'm just kind of hedging myself here before what I'm about to say, okay? Because while I do believe it has that potential to be that kind of maybe store value, in the meantime, they've got to, it has to be sold. People have to believe in it. And so when the crypto nights get everybody pumped up about this event and then it flops, that's got to be worth something, because if you can't trust the narrative you hear from the experts, then why would you want to believe in the thing?
Yeah, and this is going to be a very much of a rear view mirror scenario, or what happened. What are the miners really doing now? There's talk out there that they're scaling back and not mining because they want to hold on to what they have now, because all of the new coins are going to be worth less once they get them. So there's some thought process to that right now, but we won't really know that until maybe weeks down the road or a month down the road to see what they were actually doing. And there's a lot of people that really believe the miners are the ones kind of controlling the price here in terms of how valuable this really may be. Is this really a store of value? So I would not be surprised to see a very muted response. We probably see a spike back up maybe right before, that last block is mined here before we have again. But, this range here is very significant. The 8,000 to 8,200 range, if you're looking at technicals, very significant for the bulls.